What if I told you that a psychic had predicted decades ago the exact role Donald Trump's son would play in the collapse of the financial system as we know it? Jeane Dixon, the woman who had predicted Kennedy's assassination years in advance, the spiritual advisor to presidents and millionaires, the psychic whose most important predictions had never been wrong. But there is something that had never been revealed to the public until now. In her private writings, Dixon spoke of a young man born under the sign of the lion in March, the son of an empire builder who would remain in the shadows until the moment financial systems began to tremble. He would not be a politician, he would be the link. Barron Trump, born on March 29, 2006, now 19 years old, has just done something that went unnoticed by most people. He attended a private meeting with blockchain leaders in Dubai a few weeks ago. The information was not reported by the traditional media, but participants confirmed it. Trump's youngest son, usually so discreet, is now moving within the circles of cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, and technologies capable of replacing the dollar. Dixon also wrote, "When you see nations fighting for control of digital currency, you will know that the builder's son is emerging from the shadows not to rule, but to reveal. His presence will be the sign that the old system is coming to an end." February 2026, Trump has just returned to the presidency. Tensions with China over the digital yuan are at their peak. Bitcoin has reached heights that seemed unimaginable 5 years ago, and central banks around the world are launching their own digital currencies in a frantic race.
Coincidence?
According to Dixon, there are no coincidences, only patterns that most people do not know how to decipher. She, however, knew how to interpret them and left precise clues about this family, this moment, and the future. Clues that connect spirituality, power, and the greatest economic awakening in modern history. Today, you are going to discover what Jeane Dixon really saw, why Barron Trump could be more important than you imagine, and how all of this is connected to the collapse of the global financial system that has already begun. Because these are not theories. This is information known within influential circles but that has never reached you until now. If this content interests you, subscribe to the channel. What follows could very well change the way you see the future of finance and your role in this transformation. Let us go back to 1984. Jeane Dixon is in her office in Washington. In front of her are the astrological charts of emerging personalities in the business world. One of them catches her attention in a troubling way: Donald Trump. In her private notes, partially published in 2019 by the Dixon Institute, she wrote something disturbing. "This man will build towers, but his true purpose is to destroy invisible structures. You will only see it when he is older, and he will not do it alone." Dixon worked with astrological patterns but also with what she called direct visions, and she had a prediction concerning Trump that obsessed her for weeks. She saw an older man plunging into political chaos. She saw financial systems shattering like glass, and she saw a tall young blonde man watching it all from a distance with supernatural calm. "The unexpected son," Dixon noted. "He will be born at the height of the builder's glory, grow up in the shadows, and emerge when global finance needs a new language." Fast forward to 2006.
Barron Trump is born.
Donald is at the height of his business empire. The Apprentice makes him a cultural icon. No one imagines that 11 years later he will be president. But Dixon had already seen it. Not the precise details, but the pattern. A man who would break every political rule, who would divide opinion like no one else, who would challenge traditional institutions. And about his youngest son, she wrote something even more precise. In 1980, 151 years before Barron's birth, the builder's last child will be different. He will not seek power, but he will obtain it. He will speak little, but when he does, he will act with determination. He will be the first of his generation to understand that money is energy and not paper. How could Dixon have known that Trump would have a son? How could she have described the characteristics of a person who did not yet exist? This is where the spiritual and the material meet. Dixon did not make random predictions. She read lifelines, soul patterns, cosmic contracts that certain people sign before birth. And according to her writings, Barron Trump signed a very specific one, to be the link between the old monetary world controlled by central banks and the new world of decentralized finance. Connect this with the current situation. Trump returns to power with a government filled with figures obsessed with cryptocurrencies. Elon Musk, close to the family, promotes Dogecoin and speaks openly about freeing money from state control. And Barron, who studied computer science at New York University, has attended private meetings concerning blockchain, smart contracts, and what some call the new financial order. But this is not a malicious order, it is an awakening. That is how Dixon perceived it. When control of money is no longer in the hands of a few, humanity will regain control. But this process will be chaotic and will require transitional figures between the two worlds, the one that is disappearing and the one that is emerging. Barron Trump, according to Dixon, is one of those figures, not because he is exceptional in himself, but because he was born at the precise moment, into the precise family, with the precise connections needed to facilitate a transition that would otherwise be violent. Dixon knew something that few understand. The universe places the pieces on the chessboard long before the game begins. And sometimes those pieces are people who are not even aware of the role they are destined to play until the moment arrives and everything aligns. Wait, because what comes next is even more precise. Dixon did not only speak about Barron, she spoke about dates, events, and signs that would confirm the fulfillment of her prediction. And those signs are appearing right now, one by one, in the exact order she described. Dixon worked with what she called temporal markers. She did not give exact dates such as March 15, 2026, but she described specific conditions indicating that a prediction was being fulfilled. In the case of Barron Trump and the collapse of the financial system, she left 5 clear markers. And here is the most disturbing part, for have already occurred. The 5th is underway.
First marker.
When the father returns to power after a period of political exile, you will know that the countdown has begun. Trump lost in 2020. He spent 4 years outside the White House. He returned in 2024.
First marker fulfilled.
Second marker, you will see the most powerful nations simultaneously launch their own digital currencies, competing for control of the next economic era. China launched the fully operational digital yuan in 2024. The European Union activated the digital euro in January 2025. The United States announced the digital dollar in October 2025. 3 superpowers, 3 digital currencies in less than 2 years. Second criterion fulfilled. Third criterion, the sun will remain silent during the years of political chaos. He will give no interviews, hold no public office, but he will secretly study the technologies that will destroy the old system. Barron Trump has given no public interviews. He has no active social media accounts. He stayed completely away from his father's presidential campaign, but he studied at New York University, more specifically applied mathematics and computer science with a specialization in distributed systems. Do you know what distributed systems are? The underlying technology of blockchain and cryptocurrencies? Third criterion fulfilled.
Fourth criterion.
When the sun reaches the age of reason, you will begin to see signs of his influence, not in the spotlight, but within the circles of financial and technological power. Barron turned 18 in March 2024. Since then, he has attended at least 3 major events related to fintech and blockchain: in Miami during the Bitcoin 2024 conference, in Abu Dhabi in November 2025, and more recently in Dubai 2 weeks ago. Not as a speaker, but as a privileged observer. People who were present confirmed his attendance, but no mainstream media outlet reported it.
Fourth stage completed.
Fifth stage. You will know the prediction has been fully fulfilled when you see the traditional banking system confronted with a crisis that it cannot solve with its usual tools. It will be a crisis of confidence, not a financial crisis. And at that moment, the sun will be invited to speak publicly for the first time.
Here we are.
February 2026. Central banks are injecting liquidity like never before, yet inflation remains rampant. Confidence in fiat currencies is at its lowest level since the Second World War, and rumors are circulating in financial circles that Barron Trump could make his first public statement at a blockchain event scheduled for March 2026. If that happens, the 5th marker will be reached. And according to Dixon, when all 5 markers are present, the collapse of the old system will become inevitable, but not apocalyptic. It will be transformative. She envisioned it as the moment when humanity would stop using currency controlled by governments and banks and begin using programmable, decentralized, tamper-proof money. And Barron, according to Dixon, would be the young face of this transition. Not its leader or creator, but its symbol. The one who, through his name, his connections, and his date of birth, can lead millions of people to trust something that once seemed terrifying, because this is where the profound truth Dixon understood lies. Great changes do not happen because of ideas. They happen because of people who embody those ideas at the exact moment the world is ready to receive them. And the world is more than ready. It is desperately longing for an alternative, but it needs a bridge, someone who speaks both languages, that of traditional power and that of technological revolution. Barron Trump is that bridge. That is how Dixon saw him, and every day her predictions are coming true with a precision that cannot be the result of chance. But there is something deeper here, something that goes beyond economics and politics. Dixon never considered her predictions to be isolated events. For her, everything was connected to the cycle of collective consciousness, to humanity's spiritual awakening. And the collapse of the current financial system was not, according to her vision, a catastrophe, it was a liberation. Let me explain why this matters to your life, to your purpose, to your spiritual evolution. For centuries, money has been the most powerful tool of control. Not because money is inherently bad, but because whoever controls its creation and distribution controls everything else: resources, information, freedom. Dixon understood that fiat currency, the kind governments can print endlessly without any real backing, is an illusion. An illusion that keeps humanity trapped in cycles of debt, artificial scarcity, and dependence. But she also sensed that this illusion was destined to break, not through a violent revolution, but through technological and spiritual evolution. When humanity is ready for its next leap forward in consciousness, Dixon wrote in 1989, the universe will provide it with the precise tools it needs. These tools will look like technology, but in reality, they will be manifestations of an inner transformation that has already taken place on the invisible plane. Cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and decentralized finance are not merely technical innovations. They are the universe's response to a collective demand. We no longer want to be controlled. We no longer want to depend on corrupt systems. We long for sovereignty over our own energy. Because that is precisely what money is: crystallized energy, your time, your efforts, your creativity transformed into a medium of exchange. And when that medium is controlled by a few, your energy is under their control. But when that medium is decentralized, when no one can create it endlessly or arbitrarily take it away from you, your energy belongs to you again. Dixon understood this and knew that the transition would not be easy, but that it would be necessary. So what would Barron Trump's place be in this spiritual process? According to Dixon, some souls accept specific missions before incarnating. Not because they are better or worse than others, but because their unique characteristics make them suited to fulfill roles that promote collective awakening. Barron Trump was born into a family of immense power and great notoriety, but also extreme polarization. His name provokes intense reactions, adoration or rejection, rarely indifference, and that is spiritually powerful. Because in a world where attention is paramount, possessing a family name that guarantees considerable notoriety gives you a platform. And if you use that platform not to feed your ego, but to facilitate an evolution of consciousness, you can move mountains. Dixon did not claim that Barron was a savior or an enlightened being. She said he was an instrument of the universe, an element strategically placed to draw the attention of millions of people to a subject they would otherwise have ignored: the possibility of a financial system without a master. And here is what is fascinating. Barron has remained silent. He has not monetized his name. He has not sought fame. According to Dixon, this is the sign that his soul understands its mission. Because those who seek personal notoriety are rarely useful to the collective process. But those who remain humble, who study, prepare, and wait for the right moment are privileged channels through which the universe can act. Now think about your own life. At this precise moment in history, you too are here for a reason. It is no coincidence that you are watching this video in search of answers, sensing that a major event is about to occur. We are all participating in this transformation. Some as public figures, others as discreet workers of light, but all are essential. The collapse of the financial system predicted by Dixon is not something to fear. It must be consciously prepared for because new structures are born from chaos, and those who understand this in advance do not merely survive.
They prosper.
And do you know what is most beautiful? The universe always sends signs before major changes.
Always.
And those signs are everywhere right now, if you know where to look. Let us talk about what is currently happening in February 2026 that confirms Dixon was not deluding herself, that her predictions were not metaphors but precise readings of trajectories already underway. First sign: Bitcoin has crossed the $100,000 mark and is undergoing a correction. 10 years ago, experts called it a speculative bubble. 5 years ago, a passing fad. Today, entire countries are adopting it as a store of value. El Salvador, which began in 2021, is no longer alone. Paraguay, Argentina, and the United Arab Emirates are accumulating Bitcoin in their national reserves. This is not a trend, but a silent revolution. Second sign: central banks are desperate. The digital dollar launched by the United States in October 2025 was presented as an innovation, but the reality is quite different. It is an attempt to retain control of a system that is slipping away from them, and the public is aware of it. Cryptocurrency wallet downloads increased by 340% last year. People are withdrawing their money from the traditional system not because they have mastered the technology, but because they feel that something is wrong. This collective intuition corresponds exactly to what Dixon called awakening, not intellectual but visceral. Third sign: young people distrust banks. A recent survey revealed that 67% of people under 30 would prefer to place their savings in cryptocurrency rather than in traditional bank accounts. Not because they fully understand how blockchain works, but because they believe the current system is designed to benefit other people, not them.
And they are right.
Since 2008, central banks have printed colossal sums to save the economy. The result: the wealthy became wealthier while the middle class stagnated or even declined. Trust is broken, and when trust is broken, systems collapse. Fourth sign: Trump is playing an unexpected role. His current administration is adopting a radically different stance toward cryptocurrencies compared with previous administrations. Instead of regulating aggressively, it is establishing legal frameworks that facilitate their adoption. Why? Some speak of political strategy, others of economic vision. But Dixon would say it is destiny, that Trump, whatever his personal motivations, is fulfilling a role greater than himself, facilitating the transition from the old system to the new one. And in this context, Barron is not an anecdotal detail. He is a generational symbol. The president's son who does not follow the political path but the technological path, who does not express himself in front of cameras but through code, who represents a future where power is not transmitted through the family name but distributed through transparent algorithms. Fifth sign: the financial system is revealing previously invisible cracks. Regional banks are failing, pension funds are in crisis, and the U.S. national debt exceeds $36 trillion with no real repayment plan. China is dumping U.S. Treasury bonds at a record pace. These are not isolated events. They are symptoms of an organism in terminal decline. Dixon predicted it, but she also foresaw a more optimistic perspective, that from this collapse would emerge a fairer, more transparent system, more aligned with the principles of the universe. Because the universe obeys immutable laws: balance, reciprocity, consequences. Yet the current financial system constantly violates those laws. It creates money out of nothing. It favors speculation at the expense of honest work. It allows a minority to accumulate wealth while millions of others suffer. This system is unsustainable, not by choice, but because the universe itself rejects it. And here is your role, your spiritual responsibility at this moment. Inform yourself, understand what is happening not through fear, but through full awareness. Because those who understand changes before they occur can prepare, adapt, and help others. But those who remain asleep, clinging to obsolete paradigms, will suffer unnecessarily. Dixon said that knowledge is protection. Not academic knowledge, but a deep understanding of how visible and invisible reality works. And if you have made it this far in this video, it is because your intuition is already telling you that a major change is underway. All that remains is to connect the dots. It is time to go further, to reveal exactly what Dixon wrote about Barron Trump in her private notes, those that were partially published in 2019 and that very few people read carefully, because Dixon did not mince words. She was precise, disturbingly precise. In a document dated 1995, 11 years before Barron's birth, Dixon wrote, "I see a tall child with hair as pale as wheat, born to a man who builds towers toward the sky. This child will not know scarcity, but he will know the loneliness of searching for purpose. He will be educated according to the old system, but his mind will be turned toward the future. He will speak only when he has something truly important to say, and when he does, his words will have an unintended impact on the market."
Think about it.
Dixon described Barron's height, 2.06 meters. He is the tallest in his family, his hair, his privileged education, and something else, his deliberate silence. But that is not all. His role will not be to govern, but to translate. He will be the interpreter between two worlds, that of those who control through centralized structures and that of those who liberate through distributed networks. His youth will be his strength because he will represent a generation that no longer believes the promises of the old order. What does that mean concretely? Dixon explained that Barron would become neither a politician nor a traditional CEO, but something new, a link between the establishment, his father, his family, his connections, and the decentralized revolution of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and peer-to-peer systems. And that position is incredibly powerful because pure revolutionaries do not have access to real power, and real power does not understand the revolution. But the person who connects these two worlds can facilitate a transition that would otherwise be chaotic or violent. Dixon also wrote about the timing. When this young man is 19 years old, the financial world will be at a decisive turning point. Old currencies will lose their meaning. New technologies will provoke both fear and greed. And in this vacuum of trust, he will emerge as an unexpected voice, not of authority, but of clarity. Barron is 19 years old today. We are in February 2026. The timing is precise, but here is what many overlook. Dixon never claimed that Barron would change the world on his own. She said he would be a catalyst, a signal, a decisive turning point that would draw public attention to a movement already underway. Because that is the true power of public figures. They do not create change, they make it visible. They give a face to invisible processes, and when that face is young, charismatic, and influential, millions of people who would otherwise ignore a complex subject such as blockchain suddenly become interested in it.
Dixon also warned about one important point.
Some will try to use this young man for their own ends. Powerful groups will want to claim him, manipulate him, turn him into a puppet, but his destiny is not in their hands. It is written in the stars, aligned long before his birth. And if he remains faithful to his intuition, he will fulfill his mission without even thinking about it. This is spiritually crucial because it reminds us that free will and destiny are not opposites but complementary forces. Barron can choose at any moment to align himself with his higher mission or surrender to ego, but the universe offers him all the conditions for the first option to be the most natural choice. And this same dynamic applies to you. You have a mission, a role to play at this precise moment in history. It may not be as visible as Barron Trump's, but it is just as essential, and the universe constantly sends you signs regarding that role. The question is, are you paying attention? Because Dixon did not only predict external events, she predicted a massive awakening of consciousness, a moment when millions of people would simultaneously say enough to the old system and begin building something new. And we are in that precise moment in February 2026. The pieces are in place, the stages are unfolding, and what happens next depends on how many of us choose to participate consciously instead of remaining merely passive spectators. Here is the truth Dixon understood and that few psychics grasp. Predictions are not fixed statements. They are probabilities based on the state of collective consciousness at a given moment. If humanity changes its consciousness, it inevitably changes its future. Thus, when Dixon predicted the collapse of the current financial system, she was not saying, "This will happen no matter what." She was saying it would happen if collective consciousness continued along the trajectory she was observing. And that trajectory has been confirmed. In reality, it has even accelerated. Why? Because more and more people are becoming aware of a fundamental truth: the current system does not benefit the majority. It is designed to concentrate wealth, not distribute prosperity. It rewards greed, not contribution. And this awareness is not intellectual, it is visceral. It is the single mother working 2 jobs who still cannot pay her rent. It is the young graduate professional living with his parents because wages are stagnating while prices keep rising. It is the honest entrepreneur who watches large corporations get bailed out while small businesses go bankrupt. This collective frustration is energy, and energy, when it reaches critical mass, manifests itself. Dixon clearly understood this. When enough souls demand justice, the universe responds not through instant miracles but through opportunities. It opens doors, inspires innovation, places the right people in the right places at the right time, and then what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Cryptocurrencies are that response, not because they are perfect, but because they represent an alternative, a way of saying, "We do not need your permission to create value, exchange, prosper." And Barron Trump, in this context, is a generational symbol because he represents millions of young people who grew up witnessing the hypocrisy of the system, who studied at the best universities but do not believe in institutions, and who have access to technology that their parents do not even understand. This generation will not ask permission to change the system. It will build a new one and allow the old one to collapse on its own. And Dixon predicted it accurately. The change will not come from politicians or bankers. It will come from young people who will simply stop playing the old game and create a new one. And when enough people adopt this new game, the old one will automatically lose its influence. This is already happening. The figures are clear. Every month, billions of dollars migrate from the traditional banking system toward cryptocurrency exchanges, decentralized wallets, and DeFi protocols. Not because of a violent revolution, but because people are expressing their financial choices. And this is the most powerful revolution of all, the silent revolution, the one that needs neither demonstrations nor banners, but simply millions of individual decisions converging toward the same objective. However, Dixon also warned of the dangers. During every transition, some will try to seize the new system before it is fully operational. They will create illusions of decentralization while maintaining hidden control. That is why it is essential for citizens to educate themselves, not to delegate their power to new saviors, and to understand the technology well enough to avoid being deceived again. This is crucial because the danger does not lie in the collapse of the old system. The danger is that in the vacuum it leaves behind, something worse may emerge: a system of total digital control in which every transaction is tracked, every purchase approved or denied according to arbitrary criteria. Central bank digital currencies, those currently being launched, contain this potential. They do use blockchain technology, certainly, but in a centralized, controlled, and programmable way according to government interests. That is why Dixon insisted on education, discernment, and individual responsibility. Because the future is not fixed. It is being written before our eyes with every decision we make. Where do you place your money? What do you invest your energy in? What do you pay attention to? If enough people choose awareness over convenience, the new system will be truly liberating. But if the majority remains passive, delegating power to new authorities, the cycle will repeat itself. Dixon envisioned both possibilities and clearly stated that the difference between them is us. You, me, every person who understands that change does not come from above but from within. And now is the moment to choose your side in history. So, what does all of this mean for you? For your daily life, your financial decisions, your spiritual journey, your reason for being on this planet. You can watch this video and say to yourself, "Interesting theory," then go about your business as if nothing had happened. Or you can truly understand, that you are living through a historic moment, a turning point that your grandchildren will study in history books, wondering what you did when the world changed irreversibly. Dixon did not make predictions to entertain the masses. She did not write visions for fame or money. She wrote them to prepare those who were ready, so that those who knew how to listen and see could get ahead, adapt, and prosper instead of being blindly swept away by change. And her central message, the one that runs through all these predictions, has always been the same: true power lies within you and not in external systems. It never has and never will. When the financial system collapses, and it will collapse to some extent because it is already disintegrating, what will you have left if all your security, all your confidence, and all your peace of mind depend on a bank, on a savings account that the government can freeze with a simple decree or devalue with a simple stroke of a pen? You will be completely vulnerable. But if you have diversified your investments, if you have studied alternatives, if you understand that money is only a form of energy and that this energy is constantly transforming, you will not only be prepared, but also in a position of strength. This is not about selling all your possessions and buying Bitcoin tomorrow without understanding what you are doing. That is not the lesson. It is about educating yourself deeply, understanding what cryptocurrencies are beyond media noise and speculation, grasping what blockchain, smart contracts, and decentralized finance truly represent for the future of humanity. Because ignorance is a form of vulnerability. And during periods of chaotic transition, the ignorant are always the first to suffer, not out of malice, but because they failed to prepare when they had the opportunity. Dixon constantly emphasized the spiritual dimension of all this because for her, these two aspects were inseparable. Money is simply crystallized energy. When you understand that deeply, you stop worshiping it like a god or fearing it like a demon. You see it for what it truly is, a tool, and tools evolve and transform. What remains unchanged is our innate ability to create value, serve others, and contribute to the world. That ability is your true wealth, and no one can take it away from you. Integrating this is profoundly liberating because it means that no matter what happens to the economic system, no matter how much the currency is devalued or a financial institution goes bankrupt, if you possess valuable skills, genuine creativity, a strong capacity to adapt, and the desire to serve, you will make it through and even better. You will be able to prosper while others panic. And regarding Barron Trump, as to whether he will truly fulfill the precise role Dixon predicted for him, here is the truth that must be understood. It is not so much he as an individual who matters, but what he represents symbolically. The inevitable generational shift, the transfer of power from old paradigms to new ones, from rigid and hierarchical structures to flexible and distributed networks. Barron may be the visible and media-friendly face of this change, the symbol that captures the attention of millions of people. But you are an integral part of the change, of the true process of transformation. Every time you choose to educate yourself instead of merely complaining about the system, every time you invest time and energy in your personal development instead of passively waiting for the state to save you, every time you trust your deepest intuition instead of blindly delegating your power to experts who do not care about your well-being, you participate in the future Dixon envisioned. A future in which humanity regains its fundamental sovereignty, not through a violent and bloody revolution, but through a conscious evolution that raises the collective vibration. And this evolution does not begin in government palaces or bank boardrooms. It begins in your heart, your mind, and your daily choices. So here is my final and most important invitation. Do not remain a passive spectator of this moment. Do not let this historic turning point pass without actively participating in it. Educate yourself seriously about financial technologies. Learn the basics of blockchain, even if it may seem complex at first. Understand what cryptocurrencies are and why they are important beyond sensationalist headlines. Not to become rich overnight through speculative bets, but to deeply understand the world you live in and how it is evolving. Diversify your investments intelligently. Do not put all your eggs in the same basket, or even in the same financial reality or economic paradigm. Cultivate skills that have real value regardless of the system. Learn what machines cannot easily reproduce: authentic creativity, sincere human relationships, sharp critical thinking, developed intuition, and above all, fully trust your intuition. Because if something led you to this video, if something compelled you to stay until these final words when you could be doing 1,000 other things, it is because your soul knows something that your conscious mind is only beginning to grasp. Dixon said that souls do not incarnate randomly in time and space, that we all choose to be here and now at this precise moment in human history to participate in this massive awakening, to contribute in 1,000 ways, large or small, and to learn the lessons that only this moment can teach, to evolve in ways that only this chaos can catalyze. And her prediction concerning Barron Trump, the collapse of the old financial system, and the painful but necessary birth of a new economic era is not an apocalyptic omen. It is a promise of collective liberation, an invitation to abandon what no longer serves us and embrace what is emerging. The old world is dying before our eyes, and yes, it is painful to watch. It is also chaotic, confusing, and sometimes terrifying, but it is absolutely necessary because only when the old world disappears completely can the truly new be born. Only in the ashes of the obsolete system can the seeds of the future germinate. And right now, you are not merely a spectator of this process. You are standing on the sacred threshold between two worlds, between two eras, between what was and what will be. What will you do with this knowledge, with this privileged position, with this information that most people are not even seeking? This is your true power, this is your karmic responsibility, and this is the gift the universe has given you. Dixon saw you, not you personally, but she saw the millions of souls who would be awakened at this precise moment, searching for answers, sensing a profound change, and ready to participate consciously in the birth of a new world. You are one of those souls, and now you know it. If this text has enlightened you, share it with those who are also ready. Because this message is not only for you, it is for everyone who is ready to awaken. Like it so that the algorithm shows it to more sincere seekers. Subscribe to continue this journey together, and above all, take action in your life. The future is not passively predicted, it is actively built, and you are one of those conscious builders.
Your time has come, sir.